Part 45. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 446. The time is almost up. Lin Chen squinted his eyes slightly and looked at the starry sky. The Evil God Empire. A series of terrifying biological warships that combined flesh and machinery took off. Titans were transformed into behemoths that were cultivated one after another, a combination of biological, psychic, and mechanical energy. The meaning of its existence is completely like a blasphemy against life. It is terrifying and abnormal. Coming, Lin Chen murmured, feeling that there were abnormal fluctuations at the boundary of the Yanhuang star territory. Leaving behind a wisp of spiritual thought, Lin Chen disappeared on the Shenlong star. Wu. The billion star turrets on the border are ready, and the alarm bell has sounded. Beyond the boundary, space wormholes emerged with twists and turns. Above the ancestral star. The war is coming. Let's fight. This battle will completely destroy the evil God Empire. Mr. Mu said calmly, with murderous intent in his tone. In the conference room, orders were issued one after another. Compared with when he was in the Federation, the orders were extremely delayed. Now orders can be conveyed immediately. When arriving, front line. Lin Chen looked at the news coming from his watch. Destroy the evil God Empire? Just what I want, Lin Chen murmured, his eyes were deep and scary. The jumping star field that tore apart the space appeared at the border. Lin Chen did not summon the Empress and others. Now Lin Chen is walking in front of them. Lin Chen did not to break through to the level of gods. On the one hand, it is necessary to accumulate divinity, and on the other hand, the Empress and others are still in the stage of comprehending divinity. The Empress and others are falling asleep in the small world. Compared with humans, star beasts also need. It takes a long time to realize divinity by oneself. This is why Lin Chen could not break through so quickly. The Empress and others also need time to accumulate their own divinity. As for the time to ignite the divine fire, it is Lin Chen's breakthrough time. After all, after they break through, feeding Lin Chen back is the best time for Lin Chen to break through. But now they are all falling into a deep sleep. Lin Chen also hates this in his heart, but he does not wake them up. Plan. Lin Chen has enough confidence in his own combat power. Coming, Lin Chen frowned. Under the starry sky, biological battleships were covered with armor that could withstand dark matter energy cannons. They kept making low sounds. Like whales. Leviathan, Lin Chen's face is a little ugly. It's not because he feels that these things are troublesome. It's the transformation of life that is almost blasphemous. The combination of machinery and flesh and blood is the greatest blasphemy to life. Under the gray armor, Lin Chen could clearly see the flesh and blood under the armor. The scarlet flesh had a rotten smell. The Leviathan battleship kept roaring, and the flesh and blood under the armor was transformed into a corridor of flesh and blood. The most terrifying thing is that these Leviathans are still alive. They carry the aura of hatred and have been transformed into semi-mechanical creatures. The resentment is almost visible to the naked eye. Billions of stars bloom with light. A series of terrifying dark matter energy cannons. It burst out directly without any hesitation, and the border instantly turned into a world of war. Lin Chen stood in the void, watching all of this quietly. Those semi-mechanical Leviathan beasts let out a low roar. Woo! A melodious voice sounded, echoing under the starry sky. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the Leviathan beasts swimming out from the gunfire. So that's the case. No wonder they dare to attack the Yanhuang Empire, because they rely on these Leviathan beasts, Lin Chen murmured. These Leviathan beasts. The armor on the surface can withstand dark matter energy cannons. The border star areas of the Yanhuang Empire basically have this type of turrets. But these Leviathan warships, the biological armor can withstand it, which is equivalent to abolishing the defensive turrets on the border of the Yanhuang Empire. Just because of this, you want to take action against the Yanhuang Empire, Lin Chen murmured. Although he is very unhappy with the evil god empire, since these biological armors that can withstand dark matter energy cannons have been developed, there should be other means to deal with the existence of the Yanhuang Empire. Wu, a melodious and deep voice sounded. Leviathan warships are constantly approaching the border. The void is pulsating. Lin Chen squinted his eyes slightly and looked at the twisted void. Is that so? Lin Chen has a cold look in his eyes. For the Yanhuang Empire, it is not just the Leviathan battleship. There is also the most important trump card, the evil god. This is the evil god empire's greatest reliance. Thinking of this, Lin Chen disappeared in the original the ground. A bright golden light appeared on the battlefield. Lin Chen's whole body was shrouded in golden light. If he were an immortal god, his divinity was flowing. Hey hey hey, this is the Yanhuang Empire, Lin Chen said lightly, and the extremely bright golden cross star light emerged. A golden light beam laser penetrated the starry sky. It directly penetrated and destroyed those Leviathan beasts. The void was still twisting and surging. Something big is coming, the front line commander looked at the twisting void. There was solemnity in his eyes. What is a big thing? Of course it is a god. To be precise, it is an evil god. An evil god that is like a twisted combination of flesh and blood, tearing the void apart from the void. Came out of it? The twisted aura is spreading. Roar, a roar like a wild beast sounded. Compared with the gods of other races, the evil gods of the subspace basically lose to those beings who are stronger and less rational. Unless they go to the extreme, they will only get worse and worse. The more chaotic it is. This is also the most peculiar place in this god system. Get back, the swallowing halberd appeared in Lin Chen's hand, growing in size like a mountain range. Lin Chen directly used the swallowing halberd to sweep towards the evil god. This is why the evil god empire dared to go to war with the Yanhuang Empire. It's very simple, because of the existence of the evil god. You must know that the evil god itself is not strong, but because of its strangeness, it is like a source of pollution, a creature without divinity, or a being with weak willpower. When facing the evil god, it will turn evil. This is the most terrible loss. Although the combat power is not strong, it pollutes the people of the Yanhuang Empire like a source of pollution, twisting and deforming them into evil things. This is the purpose of the evil god empire. If the euphorbia of the Black Mountains directly sweeping across, the void shattered, and a scarlet light appeared on the flesh and blood evil god. Envy, Lin Chen murmured. Jealous of the evil god. Wu, the melodious and deep voice thought, and a scarlet beam of light hit Lin Chen directly. Lin Chen did not dodge or dodge. The golden immortal light emerged. Standing in the starry sky, facing this evil god head-on. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 447. That's it, Lin Chen looked at the scarlet beam of light with a raging smile on his face, and one hand was shining brightly. The scarlet beam of light was annihilated. Lin Chen's eyes were disillusioned, intertwined with terrifying scenes, and the golden galaxy appeared in Lin Chen's hand. The galaxy is in the palm of your hand, please taste it. Lin Chen's long black hair danced in the wind, and the stars rose and fell in his hands, instantly turning into a golden starry spear that penetrated the evil god's majestic body. Wu, a melodious and deep voice sounded, vibrating in the galaxy. The light of dusk bloomed, and everything around began to distort, including the Leviathan battleships. Constantly twisting, the steel stretches out terrifying flesh-colored tentacles, which are absurd and weird. An extremely weird picture appeared in everyone's eyes. This was the evil god. Even inanimate things can derive evil flesh and blood and become deformed and twisted monsters. Die, Lin Chen's eyes were filled with extremely determined killing intent. Golden immortal light bloomed. The stars are flowing. Lin Chen's eyes were cold, and stars appeared around Lin Chen. The power of the 9 origins gathered to simulate the power of the stars. 9 huge stars were condensed by Lin Chen, carrying the power of the 9 origins. Power. Continuously emerging. Go, there was a fierce light in Lin Chen's eyes. 9 stars gathered together, and countless stars were derived into a galaxy, with terrifying power flowing. The void was shattered. Everything in its path was crushed. It turned into an endless galaxy and enveloped the entire galaxy. Scarlet light bloomed from the evil god. A wall of flesh and blood was built high in the galaxy. It turned into a twisted and absurd terrifying flesh and blood monster. Roar, the galaxy shook, and the twisted flesh and blood monster roared, directly colliding with the galaxy. The rotation of the galaxy wiped out everything, and brought the aura of great destruction. In the evil god empire, the highest palace that combines flesh and blood, a projection appeared in the palace. A combination of flesh and blood and machinery stood on the throne of the palace. Look at the projection in front of you. Especially the terrifying combat power displayed by Lin Chen. His eyes gleamed with hatred for the living. To him, flesh and blood are the most abominable things. Genes are collected and prepared for replication. The highest order was issued directly, and he appeared on the front line across the limitations of space. Roar, the flesh and blood monsters reorganized and returned from the galaxy. Sure enough, it is not that simple to erase it, Lin Chen murmured. Although the gods are relatively weak in combat, they are gods after all. It is not that simple to destroy them. Especially now that Lin Chen is only a demigod. It will take a long time to destroy the real gods. It doesn't mean that Lin Chen can erase it if he wants to. It will take time, or Lin Chen can use the most direct method to directly devour the evil god of jealousy. But these things all take time. Come again. Lin Chen's eyes held a fierce light. The great halberd flew across the sky, and a golden beam of light bloomed. Penetrating through the galaxy, the terrifying power swept towards the evil god of jealousy in an instant. Woo, if the world cries out. The apocalyptic light of dusk blooms. The wall of flesh and blood is recast again. Countless spears of flesh and blood stretched out, killing Lin Chen with a scarlet luster. Lin Chen narrowed his glasses slightly. The euphorbia in his hand directly brought the terrifying divine light, and the flesh and blood spear collided together in the galaxy. At the same time the galaxy exploded into pieces. Lin Chen himself also burst out with an extremely bright light. Golden fist prints spread across the sky. At the same time, the scourge also swung out. Flesh and blood exploded to pieces, and the light of dusk was directly wiped out. I am invincible. Lin Chen had a fierce light in his eyes, and an aura of invincibility swept across the entire galaxy in an instant. He took a step forward. The galaxy shook. Lin Chen took a big step forward. Every move combined with the veins of heaven and earth. The avenue of heaven and earth emerged. 9 paths of origin bloomed. Then merged together, converging into a terrifying path. This was the embodiment of Lin Chen's Taoism. In an instant, or just an instant, Lin Chen appeared in front of the evil god of jealousy. His eyes were filled with disillusionment. In an instant, Lin Chen appeared in front of the evil god of jealousy. The 9 origins shrouded the body of the evil god of envy. Death, light, thunder, frost, the evil god of envy was destroyed in an instant. But the next moment, the evil god of envy was reorganized. After all, he was a creature at the level of a god, and was no longer a creature of the same dimension. The vitality is terrifyingly strong. But it is enough for Lin Chen. Since it can be destroyed once, it can also be destroyed a second time. It is not difficult for Lin Chen. The golden fist seal blooms like around the golden sun bloomed in the void. There was a fierce light in Lin Chen's eyes. The golden fist seal was shot out, and the void was shattered. The flesh and blood of the evil god of jealousy was directly destroyed, almost turning into nothingness. The claws of flesh and blood simultaneously moved towards Lin Chen, attacked. The huge wall of flesh and blood came towards Lin Chen like a crushing force, bringing with it a scarlet light. It seemed to be able to reflect people's hearts. Lin Chen was unmoved. For Lin Chen, this was not the slightest bit. Unable to shake his own will, a bright golden light rose. Lin Chen's 5 fingers turned into claws, directly tearing the evil god's body, and the flesh and blood wall shattered. A terrifying scene emerged. The void was corrupted and turned into a twisted form. The moving flesh and blood. A power that almost changes the rules emerged. This is the power of the evil god, which can corrupt everything. Is the void corrupted? Because of the flesh and blood of those evil gods, Lin Chen thought slowly. The void has been corrupted. The biggest problem is that the flesh and blood of the evil gods are scattered in the void, completely corrupting the void. Troublesome stuff. Lin Chen's body was burning with golden flames. Divinity was shrouded in it, and the golden flames burned everything. The twisting flesh and blood was directly burned by the golden flames. The great halberd in Lin Chen's hand simultaneously burned with golden holy flames. The golden holy flame burned in the void. With a fierce light in Lin Chen's eyes, he waved the big halberd, and the holy flame flew across the sky. It instantly turned into a sea of golden flames. Flesh and blood turned into nothingness and was directly burned. Lin Chen, there was a fierce light in his eyes. The big halberd fell and directly tore the evil god of jealousy apart. The golden holy flame was burning, quickly burning the flesh and blood of the evil god. Lin Chen appeared in the starry sky like an immortal god of war. His body was burning the immortal flame. Not only the evil god empire, but also the people of the Yanhuang Empire were shocked by this scene. They had never thought that such a thing would happen again. God killing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 448. Killing a god with a human god is something that has never happened before. Now Lin Chen is creating this miracle. Sometimes, creating a miracle is more amazing than the miracle itself. This guy, the border commander of the Yanhuang Empire, took a deep breath. He is also a solar-level existence, only one step away from the gods, but this step is like Tianyuan. Because he understands it, he feels shocked, perhaps in the eyes of others in the eyes, this is a miracle, and at most it is shocking. But only solar-level beings can clearly know what this means. Although there is only a half-step difference, it is like an abyss. It cannot be crossed. This is where the gods and gods' differences between demigods. Interesting, the void surged, a demonic sound was transmitted, and the void was torn apart. A huge demon god like a star came out of the void. Abyss demon. To be precise, it was a demon god. The third hand prepared by the evil god empire was also the reason why they dared to attack the Yanhuang Empire. With the cooperation of the Abyss, Subspace, and 2 huge camps, the fundamental reason why they dared to attack the Yanhuang Empire. Abyss, Lin Chen looked at the Abyss demon god with terrifying light in his eyes. To Lin Chen, the evil god is the evil god, and the demon god is the demon god. The evil god is a weakling, but the demon god is not. Relatively speaking, every demon god is. And its terrifying existence. And, one's has no mercy at all. The huge devil's palm is covering the entire starry sky and falling. This guy, Lin Chen's eyes held a trace of solemnity. Taking the terrifying devil's palm, it seemed as if a sky had collapsed. 9 sources of origin converged in Lin Chen's hands. The 10 fingers bloomed with bright divine light. The aura of chaos filled the air, intertwined with the terrifying gods. Light. Rebellion, Lin Chen's black hair danced, and he carried the aura of an invincible one. The galaxy collapsed, and the whole starry sky was torn apart by Lin Chen. Countless stars fell. Lin Chen tried his best. Although this demon god is a demon god, the combat power is not comparable to that of a weakling like the evil god. Die, one said indifferently. The demonic voice was mighty, like an irreversible will, and ordered Lin Chen to be judged. The demonic hand collapsed. Blood spilled from the corner of Lin Chen's own mouth. This was a collision of divinities, a great terror. Lin Chen was bleeding, but after all, he could not compare with a god like the demon god. However, Lin Chen did not flinch. On the contrary, his eyes were full of fierce fighting spirit. Lin Chen was already invincible at the same level, so he could only look for a higher level opponent. For someone like the demon god of the abyss, existence, especially the lower demon gods, Lin Chen is confident that he will not die here. This is an invincible belief. Absolute belief in himself. Come again, Lin Chen's brows were shining, and his Taoist magic was running. For this low-level demon, Lin Chen exuded endless fighting spirit. Ones looked at his cracked palm, and the demon blood fell into the starry sky. Injured ones murmured, and his star-sized body shrank directly to the size of an ordinary person. But he carried a terrifying aura. Yan Huang Beilong, ones looked at Lin Chen and said lightly. It seems you know it too. Lin Chen looked at ones with a smile on his lips. The jealous evil god of chaos also reorganized his body. Pity, Lin Chen said slowly. If this abyss demon god hadn't suddenly appeared, Lin Chen would have seized the origin of this evil god and used it to refine, devour, and make up for himself. No wonder, only Yan Huang Beilong has such strength, one said lightly, looking at Lin Chen with a terrifying light in his eyes. It's just the same death, no difference, one said indifferently, and the figure appeared in front of Lin Chen. The devil's wings incited the starry sky to tear apart and appeared in front of Lin Chen instantly. The arm covered with scales instantly attacked Lin Chen. The starry sky was shattered. It was like a big giant like being shattered, the demonic power bloomed. Almost instantly, Lin Chen was hit hard and had no time to react. His body cracked. Such a strong body, but that's all. One looked at Lin Chen. Although he was surprised by Lin Chen's physical strength, he was not at all dazed. Compared to ones, who knew Lin Chen's identity, he was just a little surprised by Lin Chen's physical strength. Lin Chen looking at his cracked body. There is a terrifying luster in his eyes. This is, Lin Chen murmured. Just when ones took a punch, Lin Chen felt a hint of divinity. Is that so? Lin Chen looked at ones with a smile on his lips. The next moment ones appeared in front of Lin Chen, tearing the claws of the void, trying to tear Lin Chen into pieces. Divine concentration and physical skills, this is your fighting method, Lin Chen murmured, and put away the devouring euphorbia. It collided with one's head on. Although it was impossible to capture one's movements, it didn't exist for Lin Chen. Why capture it? Directly just ram each other. Lin Chen also condensed divinity in his hands and collided with one's. One's face was a little ugly. Although Lin Chen in front of him was a little miserable, being attacked by Lin Chen made one's feel that he humiliated. Lin Chen said nothing. Although his body was cracked, it became more and more dazzling. He gradually adapted to the rhythm of the battle and began to fight with one's. After a while, one's face darkened and he discovered a terrible fact. Or a fact that was difficult for him to accept. That was that Lin Chen completely turned him into a martial arts practitioner. Lin Chen's fighting skills are constantly evolving. This is the most terrifying thing. He is learning to integrate divinity into his attacks. Every move he makes carries a terrifying divine light. The divine light on Lin Chen's body becomes more and more dazzling, and there is a bright light in his eyes. Lin Chen benefits from the battle with one's. It is more about tempering oneself. Precipitating oneself. Compared with before breaking through the Sun Yao level, Lin Chen was invincible under the gods. After the Sun Yao level breakthrough, there is no longer any opponent. This is for Lin Chen. This is both an advantage and a disadvantage for Lin Chen. Without a suitable opponent, this is not a good thing for Lin Chen. He lacks enough training. Since he lowers his own strength to fight, this kind of thing is okay for fun, but it has always been like this. Doing it is not a good thing for Lin Chen. That's it. Lin Chen looked at Wan's with a burning light in his eyes. Wan's was silent. He could see that Lin Chen was using him for training. You are looking for death, Wan said to Lin Chen with murderous intent. Although Lin Chen's body was cracked, his whole body was glowing with unprecedented light and he was evolving. If you can do it, then give it a try, Lin Chen said in a deep voice. The fighting spirit in his eyes never faded. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 449. The divine power is surging, terrifying, and brilliant. Lin Chen was not afraid at all and directly collided with Wan's. The stars flow. Lin Chen's own arm shattered, and golden blood scattered across the starry sky. Die, the demonic sound was powerful, horns roared, murderous thoughts and demonic nature were intertwined, bright and terrifying, directly penetrated Lin Chen's eyebrows. Lin Chen's heavy body stopped under the starry sky, and the golden blood was falling. A divine light shined at the wound, trying to repair the injury. But the terrifying killing intent and demonic nature blocked everything. Lin Chen's forehead was completely split, his eyebrow bones exploded, and his brain matter burst out. Nirvana, Lin Chen's expression is solemn, sacred and heavy. Terrifying divine light is constantly emerging from his body, and the intertwined divine light continues to bloom to the extreme. The immortal aura is spreading. Countless divine brilliance flows out of the interlaced flow. Wonderful blood. Wan's looked at the golden blood on his hand, licked it, and looked at Lin Chen with a sinister smile on his lips. Lin Chen's body was intertwined with immortal divine inscriptions, bright and sacred, his whole body was shining, and his own Taoism was advancing. Continuous perfection. The light disappeared. Lin Chen once again appeared in front of Ornis in his heyday. Is it delicious? Lin Chen said lightly, with a burning fighting spirit flashing in his eyes. Not bad, but I think yours tastes better. Wan's looked at Lin Chen without hiding the greed in his heart. Then give it a try. Lin Chen stepped on his feet and appeared in front of Wan's at top speed. Golden fist prints emerged, intertwined with the brilliance of divinity, like a golden sun shining brightly, falling towards Wan's. Two weak ones looked at Lin Chen with a ferocious smile on his face. The demonic power bloomed and swept towards Lin Chen in an instant. The claws that tore through the starry sky shrouded Lin Chen in it, and the purple-black light was extremely bright. The golden sun was torn apart. With an extremely strong fighting spirit in Lin Chen's eyes, his left hand penetrated Ornis' body like a war spear. The demon blood fell. Ornis looked at his demon body with an ugly expression. Penetration. This was something he had never thought about. He had never thought that one day he would be penetrated by someone. Die, the terrifying divine patterns appeared on Lin Chen's body and intertwined together, instantly shattering Ornis' demonic body. Although it was not completely destroyed, it directly caused Ornis' body to split apart. The dark demon blood was in it flowed on Lin Chen's arms. The collision of the ultimate physical skills collided under the starry sky. In the palace of the supreme command of the evil god Empire. Victor's electronic eyes sparkled with an inexplicable luster. Report to the leader that the genes have been collected and are being transported. Well done, Victor said calmly. He continued to watch the terrifying battle under the starry sky. Is this the only ability? Lin Chen looked at Wan's with a smile on his face. Wan's face was gloomy. As a god, although he is only a lower god, he was held back by a human demigod. This is a shameful thing. Especially for Wan's, this is intolerable. What you are facing is not just a god. Although Ornis doesn't want to admit it, it is indeed a good way to deal with Lin Chen's lack of gods. Even his own divinity can't do anything to Lin Chen. Lin Chen's own divinity is something he has never seen before. It's weird. To the extreme, it seems as if it can accommodate all divinities. It also seems as if it can accommodate everything. The wall of flesh and blood is built high in the starry sky. The permeating flesh and blood carries a weird and absurd atmosphere. Jealous of the evil god, Lin Chen's pupils shrank. Of course he didn't forget the existence of an evil god, but he was jealous that the evil god's combat power was too weak. Lin Chen directly ignored this. It seems that there is no way to continue playing, Lin Chen said slowly, looking at Wan's and the evil god of jealousy. Wan's looked at Lin Chen, and a sense of danger arose in his heart. But then he got rid of this dangerous feeling. If he refuses to speak out even before death, kill him, Wan said lightly, his murderous thoughts concentrated. The crimson long knife appeared in the hands of Wan's. The wall of flesh and blood came with a scarlet luster. Don't forget that this is Yanhuang, Lin Chen said in a deep voice. The divine light on his body was shining to the extreme. Countless scriptures emerged, reflecting a long river of history and an epic years. Fear appeared in Ornis' eyes. This is why those great kings, he remembered the reason why he didn't come to Yanhuang. It was because of the existence of Yanhuang. In the name of the immortal true dragon. Please come to Yanhuang, Lin Chen roared, his black hair dancing in the wind, and the golden divine light shone to the extreme. Shadows appeared behind Lin Chen, holding the immortal true dragons of the past. There were Muswekings, and the seventh ancestors. The phantom shadow of the immortal true dragon emerges from generation to generation, connecting the past and present, reaching the sky and the earth. The majestic figure stands above the Yanhuang epic years, shrouding the Yanhuang years. It shines for eternity and protects to this day. The phantom seems to have some restrictions and then disappears. A golden ancient true dragon crossed the sky. Yanhuang. It carried the aura of origin and poured directly into Lin Chen's body. The aura on Lin Chen's body surged. Although it is only a part of Yanhuang's power, it is enough, Lin Chen's voice sounded, and under the starry sky, a bright and sacred golden sun bloomed with endless light. The divinity in Lin Chen's eyes became more and more intense, and he instantly stepped into the realm of gods. This is what Lin Chen can now, the ultimate strength to carry. Is this what it feels like to be a god? Lin Chen closed his eyes and experienced this power carefully. The golden light became the only light under the starry sky. I see Lin Chen had a hint of enlightenment in his eyes. This is a rare experience and will be very helpful for Lin Chen to enter the realm of gods in the future. This feeling, Lin Chen had a smile on his lips, and the divine light on his body became more and more bright and sacred. Countless intertwined divinities appeared in Lin Chen's hands. The light bloomed, and a flower containing divinity appeared in Lin Chen's hands. 9 The origins were intertwined in it, slowly rotating, and the starry sky was torn apart and annihilated silently. God-level power bloomed in Lin Chen's hands. Although it was only the blessing of Yanhuang, Lin Chen stepped into the world in a short time. The domain of the gods. But facing the situation at hand, it should be enough. Lin Chen looked at Wan's and the evil god of jealousy with bright eyes. The battle has only begun now. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 450. The wall of flesh and blood is coming. Lin Chen held the flower in his hand for a while, and the wall of flesh and blood collapsed and disappeared completely, as if it had never appeared before. I do not believe. It's just external blessing, Wan's roared, the bloody sword in his hand tore through the starry sky and fell towards Lin Chen. You are right, it is indeed just the blessing of external forces. But it doesn't take that much to kill you. Killing you at the same level is like slaughtering a dog. Lin Chen's eyes were disillusioned. Intertwined with terrifying divine light. Even with the blessing of external forces, Lin Chen is still confident that he is invincible to the same level. Lin Chen will not be afraid of any battle of the same level. He even said that for the same level of battle Lin Chen would never consider whether the other party would become his opponent. Because Lin Chen's opponents were never people of the same level. The starry sky tore, Lin Chen turned the flower, the petals fell, and the entire starry sky was darkened. The evil god of jealousy was directly torn apart, and the floating flowers seemed to be pulled together with the evil god of jealousy. The petals fell, and the evil god of jealousy seemed to wither. His body collapsed directly, revealing his origin. The divine light of order stirred up. Lin Chen had no trace at all. In order, the divine light of order directly connects the origin of the evil god of jealousy. The supreme will is destroying the original will of the evil god of jealousy. Go back to your warp, bastard, Lin Chen said indifferently. The divine light of order continued to wipe out the original will of envy 11, leaving a bright source. It was directly put away by Lin Chen. All this happened in a moment. One's long knife fall. You don't think you are my opponent, do you? Lin Chen said lightly, stretched out his golden arm, and directly grabbed the long knife of Ornis. With a slight force, the long knife directly shattered. The next moment, Lin Chen's body bloomed with golden divine light and appeared in Orns. In front of Ness. Thank you for being a sparring partner before. In return, how about granting you death? Lin Chen said lightly. The golden arm passed directly through One's body. The demon blood fell into the void. A snowflake exploded in the void. One's looked at Lin Chen in disbelief. As if he was looking at something. Like a monster. The extremely terrifying light emerged. One's body exploded directly, and the physical body was destroyed without causing the slightest fluctuation. Lin Chen looked at all this with dull eyes. It was like crushing an ant to death. That's it, it's an easy thing. Especially for Lin Chen now. Impossible, One's origin was roaring. He wanted to escape, but was directly caught in Lin Chen's hands. Want to go there? Lin Chen said with a smile on his lips. There was a terrifying luster in his eyes. Divinity was flowing, and the world was evolving in his eyes. This war is doomed for your failure. Let me go, and I can let you go, One's roared, with a hint of fear in his eyes. Really? Let me go? Isn't the question now whether I let you go? Lin Chen said with a smile on his lips. You talk too much, Lin Chen said lightly. With 5 fingers, the bright divine light stirred out. The terrifying light was shining to the extreme, destroying everything. The origin of One's was directly wiped out. Lin Chen looked at the battlefield with deep eyes. It's just an advance army. It's not even an advance army. Now that Abyss has joined the war, can the Zerg be far behind? Especially Yanhuang, a difficult bone to crack. Whether it's Abyss, Subspace, Zerg, or even the mainland. Many races in the universe regard Yanhuang as a thorn in their side and a thorn in their flesh. But now that I'm here, don't think about leaving for a long time, Lin Chen said lightly. Golden light bloomed and penetrated the Leviathan biological warships. These biological warships have no ability to resist the power of gods for a long time. The war ceased for the time being, Lin Chen murmured, but Lin Chen knew that this was just the calm before the storm. The real battle had not yet come, and this had just begun. The power of Yanhuang faded. Lin Chen himself also felt a little tired, but this time, obtained 2 divine origins, which for Lin Chen can bring him one step closer. Returning to the Shenlong star. Lin Chen had a trace of exhaustion in his eyes. After all, he was fighting the gods, and the strength he showed, but it is necessary, otherwise, would you still show your cowardice in front of the enemy? Master, Chen Mengmeng opened the door and walked in, looking at Lin Chen with a hint of admiration in her eyes. What's matter? Lin Chen looked at Chen Mengmeng a little strangely. This girl, what's going on today? Master, you are so amazing, Chen Mengmeng said to Lin Chen. Ha? What are you talking about? Do you have a fever? Lin Chen looked at Chen Mengmeng and said speechlessly, this girl is doing well today, why is she talking nonsense? No, master, Don't you know that the impact of your battle has been exposed, Chen Mengmeng said to Lin Chen. Ha, Lin Chen looked at Chen Mengmeng with a confused face. He really didn't know. Chen Mengmeng played a video projection, which was the scene of Lin Chen stepping into the starry sky battlefield. Lin Chen rubbed his eyebrows. This is who did it? But then Lin Chen knew that it should be the Empire did it. Otherwise, this kind of thing would not be released at all. Seeing the admiration in Chen Mengmeng's eyes, Lin Chen smiled. Practice hard, and when you get to Bian, I will take you to a place. Lin Chen said slowly. Where? Chen Mengmeng looked at Lin Chen with admiration in her eyes. Then Lin Chen had a smile in his eyes. You'll know when you get to Shirogane. You should be taking a break from school recently, Lin Chen said slowly. The war is approaching, and it is naturally impossible to go to school. Although the war does not know when it will expand to the entire Yanhuang Empire. But it will happen sooner or later, and even if it does not happen, we must take preventive measures. After all, the opponent is the abyss, subspace, and other places. This is not a weakling. If one thing is not good, the empire may really become history. I know, Master. Chen Mengmeng nodded. Just practice hard, Lin Chen said with a smile. Chen Mengmeng nodded and then left the office. Knowing that Lin Chen was very tired now, he just came to take a look. Has it reached this point? Lin Chen murmured. Lin Chen already almost knew the news revealed by the Yanhuang Empire. If it was not very serious, then the Yanhuang Empire would not broadcast such a thing live. This is to create a spiritual pillar. A heroic figure gave confidence to the people of the Yanhuang Empire. This is the main reason why this video was revealed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 451. What a hero, Lin Chen sighed. What is a hero? The kind of great influence is packaged. This is the so-called hero. It is difficult to be a hero, especially being a hero of the Yanhuang Empire. This is not what Lin Chen wants. Being a hero is not a good thing. Compared to being a hero, Lin Chen prefers to be a villain. What a hassle, Lin Chen murmured, knowing that this was the decision of the upper echelons of the Yanhuang Empire. It felt a bit nonsense. The Yanhuang Empire knew it, but he, the person involved, didn't know it. Is there anything more nonsense than this? What a hassle, Lin Chen said again. The sound of the watch sounded. What's wrong? Oops, Lin Chen said to Lin Yuyu with a smile on his face. The call from Lin Yuyu was probably because he saw the video of Lin Chen's battle. What did you say? By the way, my good husband, I would like to ask you to think carefully before doing anything. You are not alone now, Lin Yuyu said helplessly to Lin Chen. Seeing Lin Chen's fight, he was bleeding. Lin Yuyu and others couldn't help but cry. This guy is so heartless that he didn't even know how to fight after the battle. Call me. Okay, my, Lin Chen said, begging for mercy. He was most afraid of seeing his woman shed tears. Lin Chen had a problem with this matter. He should be soft when he should be soft. Where are you now? Lin Yuyu asked Lin Chen. Lin Chen glanced at the women who were packing their luggage. Now they are on the ancestral planet. No, I'll be on the Dragon Star. You guys, just stay on the ancestral star. Don't go anywhere. I'll come and see you. Lin Chen took a deep breath and said. The current situation on the border is not as good as you think. Soon the entire Yanhuang Empire will be plunged into war, and only ancestral star is the safest, Lin Chen said in a deep voice. How about you? Lin Yuyu didn't say anything more, but asked Lin Chen directly. Lin Chen opened his mouth and wanted to say that he would go to Zuxing, but in the end he remained silent. Well, Please pay attention to your own safety, we will wait for you to come back on the ancestral star, Lin Yuyu said slowly. Nu Lin Chen smiled and nodded. Then he talked to others on the phone for a few words, and finally hung up the phone. How could Lin Chen not know that Lin Yuyu and the others wanted to accompany them by themselves, but is this possible? This is obviously not possible things. Let's not talk about other things, let's just say that Lin Chen himself is the Yanhuang 100 dragons of this generation. When the Yanhuang Empire is in trouble, he cannot just sit idly by and ignore it. This is his fate and his mission. At the very least, after the next generation of the immortal true dragon rises, Lin Chen is qualified to say anything and live his own life. This is inheritance. Before the next generation of the immortal true dragon inheritance ends, Lin Chen will fight for the Yanhuang Empire. But then again, even if this were not the case, Lin Chen has been fighting for Yanhuang. The watch on Lin Chen's hand rang again. Lin Chen directly connected to the communication. Marshal Mu, Lin Chen looked at the projection that emerged. Little one, long time no see. Mr. Mu said with a smile. No need to be so rigid, just call me Grandpa Mu. Mr. Mu looked at Lin Chen with a smile on his face and said. Grandpa Mu, Lin Chen called out directly. Anyway, Lin Chen wasn't used to being called Marshal Mu. Okay, I don't have much time. I mainly want to ask you what you think. Mr. Mu asked Lin Chen. There was a glint in his eyes. He didn't believe that Lin Chen didn't think about the meaning of releasing those videos. Opinion, Lin Chen lowered his head and thought carefully. I am not suitable, and the Yanhuang Empire does not need it. Lin Chen raised his head and looked at Mr. Mu and said in a deep voice. Why? Mr. Mu looked at Lin Chen and asked. My character is not suitable for being a hero, especially those that are packaged, and does the Yanhuang Empire need heroes? Lin Chen said in a deep voice. You are right, the Yanhuang Empire does not need heroes, but at this special time, it needs a spiritual leader. Mr. Mu said in a deep voice. Spiritual leader, Lin Chen looked at Mr. Mu / Yes, it is the spiritual leader. Do you know who the enemy we face is? Mr. Mu said with a serious face. Abyss, subspace. Lin Chen said lightly. Not bad, but not comprehensive. There are also dark dimensions and Zerg. Mr. Mu said in a deep voice. Lin Chen's pupils shrank. Lin Chen was no stranger to the dark dimension and the insect race. He didn't even know how many bugs he had killed. But the dark dimension is different. To be precise, the dark dimension. To put it bluntly, it is life in other dimensions. Existence. The ruler is at least at the level of the ancestral god, or even a higher existence. This is not a joke. Grandpa Mu, this is no joke. Lin Chen took a deep breath and said. Do you look at me like I'm joking? Mr. Mu said quietly. The troubles the Yanhuang Empire encountered this time are more terrifying than you imagine. At least they faced enemies from 4 different dimensions and races, and the war has already started, but it is not in the eyes of the world. Mr. Mu said slowly. Lin Chen didn't know what to say. Originally, he only had the abyss and subspace, but now it seems that he is too simple. The trouble we encountered this time was a matter of course. After all, the Yanhuang Empire was too powerful, and the people who stepped out were too unscrupulous. This has led to the current situation. Mr. Mu said with a hint of helplessness. How is this going? Lin Chen looked at Mr. Mu and asked. What Mr. Mu said made Lin Chen feel confused for a while. You have to ask those ancestors what the strong men who emerged from the Yanhuang 100 dragons actually do. Mr. Mu also feels helpless. Lin Chen. They won't rob existences in other dimensions, Lin Chen said quietly. What do you think? As an immortal dragon, you should have more say than me. Mr. Mu said slowly. Lin Chen was a little speechless. Now we understand why the dark dimension is coming. Generally speaking, the dark dimension, except for causing trouble, is not very good at invading other worlds. But now, obviously he has been holding grudges for a long time and found this opportunity to take revenge. Then they are not afraid of those ancestors who will cause trouble for them. Lin Chen asked Mr. Mu. What do you think? Afraid, of course, but what if Ren stops those ancestors? Mr. Mu said calmly. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 452. Someone stopped me. Lin Chen took a deep breath and looked at Mr. Mu. Do you think those beings from the dark dimension are really weak? Mr. Mu said with a smile, with a trace of helplessness in his eyes. What can be done about the goods that the ancestors broke into? Lin Chen wanted to scold his mother. Originally, a subspace and an abyss were very troublesome things in themselves, but now it looks like it's not just these guys. There's also the dark dimension, and the Zerg. So you know why? Mr. Mu said slowly to Lin Chen. Old man, are you discussing with me? Lin Chen looked at Mr. Mu and said in a deep voice, saying it was a discussion. It was more like trying to reason with himself. Convince himself. He. Mr. Mu smiled and looked at Lin Chen without saying anything. Old man, please change someone else, this thing is not suitable for me, really. Lin Chen shook his head and rejected the suggestion of being packaged as a hero. Well, since you don't like it, forget it. Mr. Mu looked at Lin Chen, shook his head and said with a sigh. Since Lin Chen has said so, the old man will naturally not force Lin Chen to become a hero. It is not suitable either. These things require the cooperation of others. Next. After chatting for a while, Mr. Mu also hung up the phone. Lin Chen rubbed his eyebrows, the next time was going to be difficult. Lin Chen looked at the small world inside his body. Endless light appeared in the sky, and a star, the golden sun, is the absolute domain of the Empress. Endless purple-red thunder flashes, and a mountain-like dragon lies on the earth. It turns into a thunder prison to connect the world. As soon as it emerges from the earth, endless frost is like an eternal frost world, a palace of extreme ice standing on the earth. Endless steel realm, terrifying holy flame realm, endless dark realm, quiet death realm, and the purest dragon realm. Each one occupying one side. Split within Lin Chen's small world. They are still sleeping, and when they wake up, it will be when I become a god, Lin Chen murmured. Looking at his little world, there was nothing else except the All Souls blood tree in the center. It was filled with elements, and an extreme aura appeared in Lin Chen's little world. Fortunately, in this small world, Lin Chen can only use it to store things at most. The evil god empire. In the highest palace where flesh and blood and machinery are combined. Victor looked at the genetically cloned cyborg in front of him with satisfaction. How is the combat effectiveness? Victor said slowly, looking at these genetically cloned biochemicals, each one is exactly the same as Lin Chen. It cannot be completely copied. Sorry, Supreme Commander, it is currently completely impossible to break through the genetic source code of this genetic body, a semi-mechanical creature slowly said to Victor. Yeah, Victor looked at these biochemical clones. All of them were clones copied from Lin's genes. But enough is enough. Victor had a smile on his lips. Show off their capabilities, Victor said to his subordinates. Yes, Your Majesty, the Supreme Commander, the cyborg said respectfully to Victor. He activated a button. One of Lin Chen's biochemical clones emerged from the nutrient solution. His eyes were not as dull as expected, but full of agility. Here it is, clone. Lin Chen looked at Victor and himself. He closed his eyes and comprehended carefully, and instantly understood what the current place was. Hey, you guys, what do you want to do by cloning me? Clone. Lin Chen looked at Victor and said slowly, with murderous intent filling his eyes. Um, Victor looked at the clone Lin Chen as if he had seen something interesting. Do you still have your own consciousness? Victor looked at Lin Chen with a glint in his eyes. The evil god empire, Lin Chen murmured, the origin of his body surging. Lin Chen, who was far away on the Shenlong star, seemed to sense something. His face changed, and he looked in the direction of the evil god empire with a trace of ugliness. These guys, damn it! Lin Chen sat cross-legged on the spot, his consciousness crossed the space, and based on the obvious connection, he appeared in the evil god empire, with the general on his clone body. It's really strange, why do you still have your own consciousness? Could it be said that your soul has been engraved in your bloodline genes? Victor looked at Lin Chen and murmured. This is the first time he has seen such an existence. Even the clones of the gods will not have such a situation. You deserve to die. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His consciousness came, not his soul. Lin Chen's body and soul are still on the Dragon Star. It's just that according to the connection in the dark, his consciousness appeared in the clone of the evil god empire. Having imprinted your soul consciousness into your own flesh and blood, do you seem to be going out of your own way? Victor looked at Lin Chen and murmured. This was the first time that such a strange thing was simple. Even the gods had never done it like this. Lin Chen's face had a hint of ugliness, as his secret was revealed. From then on, at the beginning of the first nirvana, Lin Chen's soul was completely integrated with his own flesh and blood. In order to pass on his own abilities, even his own descendants may awaken themselves in the blood. Of course, it is not the kind of borrowing weight life, but for the safety of his descendants. Calling himself from the bloodline, even if he is from countless dimensions, he can feel it immediately, and he will not be forgotten. Rebellion, Lin Chen didn't say much. The 9 origins gathered together, and the aura of rebellion emerged. Interesting, Victor looked at Lin Chen, but he didn't make any move. Instead, he looked at Lin Chen and watched Lin Chen's performance. The aura of chaos emerged. Lin Chen directly tore apart the copies of himself in the surrounding culture tanks. His own body also collapsed. We will meet again, Lin Chen said lightly. His body disintegrated and turned into a puddle of minced meat. Lord Victor the cyborg looked at Victor. No need, there is no use in taking these things back. What happened to the plan to create a god? Victor looked at the minced meat in front of him, it was completely discarded. The plan to create gods has already begun, but it requires a huge amount of biological energy. On the other hand, the Leviathan battleship is being produced, and there is some shortage of bioenergy, the cyborg said slowly. If there is insufficient biological energy and there are many Zerg, you can cooperate with the Zerg, Victor said slowly, but his eyes stayed on the pile of waste meat. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 453. On the Dragon Star. Lin Chen opened his eyes, and the divinity flowing in his blood was surging. They're actually copying my clones, these guys. Lin Chen had a cold murderous intent in his eyes. Knowing that there are biochemical people in this world, Lin Chen can move towards a new brand and leave his own traces in every corner of himself. These are the things he is afraid of. After all, there is a saying about the technology in this world. The existence of direct fullness and the existence of clones, Lin Chen is not surprised at all. After all, mechanical cults and such things that blaspheme life exist, so cloning and other things are relatively unexplored. Compared with the mechanical cult, which is such a blasphemous existence. Human cloning is simply child's play. In the evil way, can it be compared to the mechanical cult? The combination of flesh and blood and machinery makes people shudder at the imagination. There are still people who have such thoughts, Lin Chen murmured. Lin Chen was not surprised by this. If there was no such thing, Lin Chen would feel strange. Really, Lin Chen looked at the border of the Yanhuang Star territory. Leviathan warships attacked again. Along with some black warships made of cubes appeared. These black warships that were like cubes and were constantly moving had never been seen before. Lin, with a trace of seriousness in Chen's eyes, people from the dark dimension appeared. People from the dark dimension appear, but what about the Zerg and the Abyss? Lin Chen murmured, and the figure disappeared in place, constantly crossing the star field and appearing at the border. For Lin Chen, what he has to do now is to appear at the border as soon as possible and understand the most basic situation. Black, the cubic battleship floats continuously, as if it is paddling irregularly. Woo, a melodious sound sounded, and those Leviathan warships were roaring. As a living creature, he was transformed into a semi-mechanical monster. Instinctively full of hatred towards some flesh and blood things. What the hell? Lin Chen looked at these battleships with fear in his eyes. They were so huge that they almost filled the starry sky. The shining bugs emerged one after another. They were as dazzling as the sun. Sun bugs. Grass. Lin Chen had a hint of rage in his eyes. Why did the sunworm appear here? Did any gods take action? It is definitely not a good thing for the gods to have sunworms approaching the border. I come. A god from the Yanhuang Empire stepped forward, and the entire starry sky seemed to turn into a chessboard. Lin Chen was also among them. A superior god. Lin Chen murmured. The chess pieces staggered directly, and the black and white dragon surged across the star field. Kill, a Zerg god rushed out directly. Without saying a word, he rushed directly towards the black and white dragon. All living beings are chess players, and you are just a chess piece, Yaishan said indifferently, and with a wave of his hand, a chess piece fell. Like a black universe, it directly smashed the superior Zerg god into pieces. The blood of the god flowed in the starry sky, shining with the light of divinity. No one thought that the gods of the Yanhuang Empire were so powerful, and it finally became clear why they would unite. A god who was also a superior god was directly crushed to death. There was no chance of resistance. The black chess is the universe, the white chess is the universe, and I dare to play against others, Yaishan said lightly. Standing under the starry sky, wherever the chessboard passes is Yaishan's home court. Lin Chen looked at Yaishan with a trace of yearning in his eyes. Fall, Yaishan said lightly. A black chess piece turned into a big universe and fell directly towards the fleet of the evil god empire and the fleet of the dark dimension. The black chess piece was suppressed like a big world. Everything in its path was shattered. Lin Chen, taking a deep breath, he looked at the dark dimension, the evil god empire, and the Zerg. Everything was wiped out. Everything was directly obliterated. The extremely terrifying power was revealed. Roar, with a terrifying roar, an abyss dragon as big as a galaxy roared and tore through the starry sky and rushed out of the dimension. It was covered with stars. Every scale on its body was as huge as a planet. A terrifying display of extreme power came out. The black Dao was directly resisted by this abyss black dragon. Exuding endless aura, Lin Chen's eyes had a hint of terrifying luster. Abyss black dragon. Even in the abyss, it is a famous race. Not to mention this one, the god-level abyss black dragon appeared. A desperate scene appeared in everyone's eyes. This abyss black dragon directly tore apart the Dawu transformed by black chess. God of the Yanhuang Empire, you are leading Yanhuang to rapid destruction. The war has escalated, the black dragon of the abyss roared, like a black sun the size of a galaxy. Endless divine light was revealed. The demonic nature was vast. Lin Chen had a trace of fear in his eyes. This was absolute power, not comparable to the lower gods. The upper gods, that is, the existence that is close to the ancestor god. I want to be stronger, Lin Chen looked at his system. He hasn't used the system for many years. The reason is that Lin Chen feels that his strength is enough and he doesn't want to cultivate new star beasts. But now it seems that there is still a long way to go. There was a hint of madness in Lin Chen's eyes. Either survive or go crazy. Time can't wait for Lin Chen to grow up naturally. Lin Chen needs to find a new path and become stronger quickly. But the premise is that he can finally walk on a new path. Path of. It's too slow. Lin Chen hated this feeling of powerlessness. This feeling of powerlessness made Lin Chen feel very weak, like an ant on the roadside who would be trampled to death if he didn't pay attention. This is what Lin Chen doesn't want. It is also the thing that Lin Chen hates the most. Become stronger. Lin Chen had a trace of madness in his eyes. Black Dragon? Yes, you are qualified to be my opponent. I have a chess piece, please play it. By Zhou Kang Kang, Yaishan said lightly. The black chess disappeared. The white chess appeared. The white light hung on the chessboard like a galaxy. The vast ancient years passed. The power of time is also the power of time, and it is also the most terrifying power. The black dragon of the abyss roared with unparalleled magical power. The dragon wings behind it tore through the starry sky, and the planet was as big as a mud ball in the black dragon's eyes. Shatter the galaxy. The black dragon of the abyss roared loudly. The demonic sound was mighty, the galaxy was shattered, and the ultimate will to destroy came. Between the floating wings, the galaxy was destroyed. Make a move without regrets, it's settled, Yaishan said indifferently. The white chess fell and everything was frozen. The body of the abyss black dragon instantly became old and decayed. It carried the aura of sunset. It seemed that it might pass away at any time. The power of time is undoubtedly terrifying, and even the gods cannot survive. Even the black dragon of the abyss has become decayed and old. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 454. The Power of Time. Lin Chen had a glint in his eyes. There are very few star beasts with the power of time. Currently, Lin Chen has no clue. Go back and check and ask. No matter how many there are, as long as they have the attribute of time. Roar, the black dragon of the abyss is roaring. He is a little unwilling. The origin of life is returning. The years are flowing backwards in the roar of the black dragon of the abyss. The black dragon of the abyss wants to return to the peak era. If you can't do it, just disappear, Yaishan said lightly. The white chess and the black chess fell at the same time. The vast and ancient atmosphere was confused, as if the universe had just begun. Meaning again, a voice of charming laughter sounded, and on the entire battlefield, the dimensions were torn apart. What do you want to do to my little pet? A voice full of desire sounded, as if it could arouse the desire in people's hearts. A graceful figure walked out of the crack. A pair of magic horns on his head. Lin Chen's pupils shrank. This kind of breath, Lin Chen felt been there before, it was with Mu Swecking. Maharaja, Lin Chen murmured. The entire battlefield froze. Your Majesty, that person is at the top of the food chain. Even in the endless dimensions, he is a ruthless person. As long as he does not provoke some more ruthless beings, he can run rampant. General dimension controllers are basically at the level of the Maharaja. The Lord of the Abyss also appeared. Yaishan looked at Lord Desire with clarity in his eyes. You shouldn't be here, Yaishan said lightly, with a strong tone. Even though the other party was the Great Lord, he still did not give in. He said straightforwardly to the Lord of Desire. Ha ha ha. Lord Desire chuckled and looked at Yaishan. You little guy is quite interesting. The Lord of Desire looked at Yaishan, waved his arm lightly, and the old and decayed black dragon of the abyss instantly returned to its peak period. This is the difference between the Lord and the superior gods. But you are not my opponent yet, call your ancestor god out, the Lord of Desire said lightly. The stars are flowing, constantly revolving around the Lord of Desire. The rivers of stars one after another flow around the Lord of Desire. Without using divine power, this is the Lord, this is the ancestor god Jiang. Wherever you stand, you are the center of the world. The stars and rivers gather into a throne and are intertwined under the starry sky. The powerful, arrogant, and tyrannical abyss demonic dragon is crawling beside the king of desire like a dog. Lin Chen took a deep breath and turned to leave. He knew that there was another bloody battle here, but it was not something he could participate in, nor could he stop. For Lin Chen, all he can do now is to work hard before the arrival of all-out war becomes stronger. But this kind of thing is not something that Lin Chen can do just because he wants to do it. It takes time, but what Lin Chen lacks most now is time. Lin Chen left, did not return to the Shenlong star, and left the human planet. Domain, he wants to take risks and go through the most terrifying training. The Terminus star. The one connected here represents the abyss. It represents the way to the abyss within the abyss. This is the only thing Lin Chen can do. Where can Lin Chen become stronger quickly? It is undoubtedly the abyss. With enough resources and endless monsters, this is the abyss. Kill here and grow here. Lin Chen will undergo the final transformation and sublimation. Wait for me. Lin Chen took one last look at the direction of the Yanhuang Empire. He entered directly into the abyss. The abyss is where the will of the native world and the will of the abyss intersect. It is also a land that crowds out existence above diamonds. Lin Chen entered in the abyss of the surface. Endless pressure came. Thunder disasters gathered in the sky. Lin Chen walked towards the depths of the abyss without hesitation. Lin Chen did not know the coordinates of the abyss, and he could not cross dimensions. If he wanted to reach the abyss, he could only use this way. As for asking people to send Lin Chen into the abyss, wherever there are such people in the Yanhuang Empire now, they are all busy fighting. And there is a price to pay for opening the way to the abyss. When you stare into the abyss it is also staring at you. And where to open the abyss is also a question. When you open a passage to the abyss, at the same time, the abyss can also use this passage to go to your world. This is mutual, not to say alone. In the abyss, Lin Chen continued to move forward against the thunder, and walked towards the cracks in the abyss. The cracks connecting the heaven and the earth appeared in front of Lin Chen. Lin Chen walked directly in without any hesitation. The abyss, regardless of whether they were monsters or humans, although they all saw Lin Chen, they pretended not to have seen him. As for those 9-turn demon kings, they naturally would not be stupid enough to stop Lin Chen. Lin Chen was beyond the diamond level at the first sight. Although they are rank 9, they are still diamonds. It's not like Lin Chen. It's so simple to defy heaven. Abyss, here I come. Lin Chen took a deep breath and jumped directly into the crack of the abyss. He went to the endless dimensional cemetery, the abyss. At the same time, the celestial clan. The residence of the celestial god emperor. A golden planet is majestic and vast, exuding the breath of endless laws. Alair is sitting at the stone table. It has been more than 9 months since he returned from the Yanhuang star territory. Alair's belly is also slightly bulging. A little life is brewing in it. Alair's the father, the current god emperor, looked at his daughter with a trace of 5 years and doting in his eyes. How could Asumian not know about Alair's pregnancy? As a strong man at the level of the ancestral god, Asumian not only knows, but can also sense how terrifying the talent of the child in Alair's belly is. Who is this little guy's father? Actually suppress the bloodline of the celestial clan. Asumian looked at Alair with some curiosity. Every time he asked Alair always smiled and then stopped talking. That stinky guy probably doesn't know yet, Alair said with a smile on his lips. Please touch your belly, with a motherly glow on his face. Different from the pregnancy time of the human race, the general pregnancy time of Alair, who is a celestial being, is 10 years. Around. Alair doesn't know how long the little family in his belly will stay. After all, this is the first combination of the human race and the celestial race. Little guy, come out early so that you can help your mother beat up your stinky father, Alair said with a smile on his lips. The higher the life level of a creature, the longer it takes to give birth to children. This is an unchanging truth. But Lin Chen doesn't know these things yet. Can you follow me? Maybe you know that you have a child now. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 455. Abyss. Endless plains, this is the graveyard of dimensions. It is also a paradise for creatures in the endless abyss. The 89th level of the abyss, the demonic dragon abyss. The smell of sulfur filled the air, and the peaceful space was torn apart. Lin Chen crossed the layers of dimensions and appeared in the abyss with a trace of embarrassment. Is this the abyss? Lin Chen murmured and looked at the sky. The sky seemed to be cracking. Endless cracks flashed from time to time. The whole world was filled with a violent atmosphere. For non-abyss creatures, this is a world more terrifying than hell. There was a glint in Chen's eyes. The air here was filled with chaotic aura, which was eroding Lin Chen's body all the time. Lin Chen was running the immortal true dragon technique, constantly absorbing these violent demonic energies. For Lin Chen it is said that these demonic energies are not poison, but rather a great tonic. Especially with the immortal true dragon technique, Lin Chen can say that there are no taboos. Here we go. Lin Chen crossed the void and took the initiative to find monsters to hunt. He didn't come here to travel, on the contrary, he came to evolve, hunt monsters, and wait for the Empress and others in the small world to wake up, so Lin Chen could do it in one fell swoop, stepping into the level of gods. A demonic city appeared in Lin Chen's consciousness. Lin Chen tore apart the space and appeared in the demonic city. Without the slightest hesitation, golden light bloomed, killing, plundering, and devouring everything. This is Lin Chen's purpose in coming to the abyss. In the end, there is only one, which is to evolve. To become an existence at the level of gods. Only Lin Chen is qualified to appear on the battlefield of gods. Not enough. Lin Chen looked at the demon city that had been completely razed by him. Although he had plundered a lot, Lin Chen's road to becoming a god was still far away. Next, Lin Chen tore apart the space and disappeared. Compared to the abyss demon, Lin Chen now looks more like a demon. He continues to slaughter the demon city and collect enough resources. The main world. The Lord of Desire looked at the entire Yanhuang star territory. The demon dragon at the head of the demon god level lay obediently at the feet of the Lord of Desire like a dog. Yanhuang, so many years, it is time to be annihilated, the Lord of Desire said lightly. It has been a long time since he appeared at the border of the Yanhuang star territory. But she knew in her heart that even though the current Yanhuang seemed to have little fighting ability, the Lord of Desire also knew in her heart that she only had to fight by herself. That was purely looking for death. Yanhuang has stood for so many years, is it really that simple? It is ridiculous to say that it rose from a weak thing. Yanhuang has grown up step by step until today. But it is true. There are countless people in the abyss. Over the years, no one knows how many products of the king or above are in the abyss. But it can be said that the abyss is the cemetery of dimensions, which is enough to explain all this. Master, why don't you just go in? The abyss demonic dragon said to the Lord of Desire. Fight in, the Lord of Desire smiled. With the existence of Yanhuang, no double-digit lord would be looking for death if he went into Yanhuang. However, the Lord of Desire did not explain anything. Instead, he said to the abyss demonic dragon, are you willing to do it for me? Taking the lead. The abyss demonic dragon's eyes were red, and he nodded hurriedly like two huge bloody suns. Well, then go ahead, the King of Desire said with a smile. Roar, the abyss demonic dragon surged up like a giant body the size of a galaxy. It reverberated in the galaxy with terrifying demonic nature. It rushed into the Yanhuang star territory without hesitation. The Lord of Desire had a smile on his lips. Yi, sitting on the throne made of the galaxy, watching the abyss demonic dragon heading towards the Yanhuang star territory. Just as the abyss demonic dragon stepped into the Yanhuang star territory, its body was strangely annihilated. It just disappeared completely without a sound. "Sure enough, you are still here," the Lord of Desire murmured. "That strange power can only be felt by a Lord-level being. That is the power of Yanhuang. Does it carry the power of hundreds of millions of years of faith?" Yanhuang Beilong was really a terrifying figure, but it's a pity that everything is in the past. The final winner is the Abyss. The Lord of Desire didn't care at all about the fallen Abyss demonic dragon. To her, the Abyss demonic dragon was just a dog. She had many such dogs in the Abyss. It was just to test what the Yanhuang Empire was like. Now the purpose of Lord Desire has been achieved. The Yanhuang Empire has indeed completely awakened Yanhuang. "This is a bit troublesome," the Lord of Desire murmured. The void surged, and a terrifying insect king appeared across the endless space beside the Lord of Desire. The void was twisting, as if countless sword lights were intertwining, like the blade-shaped forelimbs of a sickle. Tore through the void and came out of the endless dimensions. A blade queen of the Zerg. The light of dusk bloomed, and the song of doom was echoing. The sickening stinging tones sounded, and countless flesh and blood rolled under the starry sky. Something is coming from the subspace, endless flesh and blood, and the void is directly corrupted and twisted. The distortion is absurd and weird. A flesh ball is torn from the dimension and squirms out. That's right, it's squirming. The Lord of Flesh and Flesh. Subspace, one of the masters of, and also an ancestor god-level existence. "It seems that they are almost here," a hoarse and deep voice sounded. A humanoid creature appeared here. A terrifying black aura emerged from it. The Lord of the Dark Dimension. "Let's go," the sharp voice of the Queen of Blades rang out. The existence of 4 ancestral gods, and the terrifying aura made Xingyu twist. Hey, what do you want to do? Are you looking for death?" the Lord of Desire said with a smile on his lips. The Lord of the Dark Dimension, Queen Mother of Blades, looked at the Lord of Desire. "If Yanhuang is really that easy to solve, then why wait for you? If you want to die, I won't stop you," the Lord of Desire said calmly. "What's the meaning?" The Lord of Dark Dimension looked at Lord Desire and said with a trace of dissatisfaction in his eyes. Hey, trash, don't look at me like that. Although I don't know which dark dimension you are from, be honest," the Lord of Desire said calmly. "What does it mean, literally, what else does it mean?" the Lord of Desire said disdainfully. The Lord of the Dark Dimension took a deep breath. No one has spoken to him like this for many years, but looking at the Lord of Desire, the Lord of the Dark Dimension thought about it and decided to forget it. "I won't follow him. This person cares about. So when is the right time?" the Queen of Blades said lightly. "Wait, that time won't be too far away. As Mother Queen and Ancestral God, are you afraid that you won't have time? Thousands of years have passed, but this little time can still be waited for," the Lord of Desire said slowly.